President Zelensky says another massive Russian bombardment hit his country overnight. Proof, he said, that the Kremlin is not serious about peace. The capital city, Kyiv, was struck repeatedly. This is one of the apartment blocks that was hit. We're told the attack involved nearly 500 drones and 40 missiles, which were largely targeted at energy and civilian infrastructure. President Zelensky will join a conference call later today with European leaders to discuss the ongoing negotiations. He is preparing to leave for Florida, where he'll meet with President Trump on Sunday. The Ukrainians say 90% of the peace plan has been agreed, although in an interview with Politico, the US president seemed to push back on that idea. He doesn't have anything, he said, until I approve it, which again underscores how tense the relationship is and maybe explains why the Europeans are engaging with President Zelensky ahead of his visit. Our correspondent Samira Hussain is in Kyiv and gave us the latest.
Overnight, there were more than, and into this morning, in fact, the air raid sirens have been sounding off. There are still drones that are coming into Ukrainian airspace. And according to Ukrainian officials, there were some 500 drones that were launched from Russia over Ukraine and some 20-odd missiles as well. The main target has been the capital here in Kyiv. And there has been some infrastructure damage there. And according to the Ukrainian military, there has been damage to some residential buildings here as well. And all of that is coming as there is this absolute flurry of diplomatic activity. In fact, we're hearing now that Reuters, in fact, is reporting that President Zelensky will hold a call with European allies, including the head of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen. And it's all ahead of that conversation with President Trump in person on Sunday, where they're going to be discussing this 20-point peace plan. And as you rightly pointed out, Christian, President Zelensky has characterized it as being 90% there, only a small bit left to overcome.
Yeah, those comments in Politico that Donald Trump has given, though, again underscoring the degree to which really Ukraine's fate depends on the whims of the US president, who, again, in the interview, seems to lean more towards Russia.
Yeah, in the interview, he even said, I'm expecting to speak with President Putin very, very soon. And again, as you rightly pointed out, if you look at the difference between the kind of tone and the language that you're hearing from President Zelensky is very upbeat. But then when you listen to what the President of the United States had to say in this interview with Politico, he seemed to downplay it quite a bit. And it is forever this tightrope that Ukraine has been walking ever since that monumentous meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky in the White House at the beginning of this year. It's been very much a game of trying to keep the United States on side. So you hear a lot of positive language when it comes to the United States, particularly speaking about Donald Trump. And President Zelensky is certainly going to try and keep that kind of positive momentum as he goes to meet with the president in Samira Hussain there in Kyiv.